Hey everybody, Charlie and Iron 2 here, and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. When we last left off, we're trying to prove that Mr. Egbert Benedict, or his real name, Ashley something with a G, Grayson, I think, trying to prove that he was in the pawn shop. Now, we almost got there. Lord Van Zykes, though, wants to show us some pictures proving that a box was not taken from the pawn shop. Let's see what he has to say. One was set to capture the counter where Mr. Windibank received his customers, and the other was set to capture the shelves on which articles were placed for sale once forfeited. According to the information on this ticket, McGuilded small box had been forfeited already, 2 days before the incident at 9 p.m. on 13 April to be precise, which means it would have been on the shelves of forfeited items in the shop front. Now, what I have here is a print taken by one of the cameras about 2 hours before the incident. It's at 11 p.m. on the 15th of April. Okay. This is new. The victim certainly had a very full shop, it would appear. And then here we have another print. Okay, Stereoscope. This one was taken about 2 hours after the incident. I see, so we have two pictures to compare. Woof. Is there a difference between the two? Yeah, we gotta put them in the stereoscope, right? And then we'll be able to see if something is missing. Though I must say that placing them side by side leaves me cold. Yeah, me too. I'm trying to glance here. Let's just do it. Dear me, that's starting to make my head ache. Obviously, at Scotland Yard, we considered theft as one possible motive in this case. We explored the possibility that something had been taken in addition to the victim's life. Hold on, let's go court record and do this before we go any further. Okay. Oh, they're not entered into court record yet. Okay, let's go back. So your men have already compared these two prints thoroughly, Inspector? Yes, sir. We counted every single item in each of these two photographic prints. The yard's conclusion is that exactly the same number are present in both. In other words, nothing was taken from the pawnbrokery on the night in question, and my learned friend's assertion is nothing more than a hopeful fantasy. Arg! I don't believe it. If I could have just shown that he'd stolen McGuilded's pawn box. Uh-oh, he's doing the dance. I might have been able to break him down at last. You know what, Runo? I've been thinking. I'm not looking at these cross-eyed, it hurts my eyes. I wonder if these two photographs really are exactly the same. I doubt that they are, seeing as how there's been such a thing about stereoscopes. What? So, counsel, in the light of the evidence put forward by the prosecution, what is your position? It seems that in fact on the night in question, nothing was stolen from the victim's establishment. Do you accept the prosecution's assertion? I don't know. Could there be some hidden discrepancy in these two photographic prints? Use a piece of evidence. Can we use the stereoscope? Before I give my answer, my lord, I'd like to try something, if I may. Try something? What do you mean, counsel? I'll need to use a certain piece of evidence from the court record to identify the discrepancy. I'm not entirely sure I follow. Which piece of evidence do you intend to use to help you identify a discrepancy between the two prints? Where's it at? The stereoscope, right here.
Take that!
I'd like to use this device, my lord, to view the two prints stereoscopically. Ooh, man, he's loving that. Look at him. Yes, you've caught the bug at last. You can't resist it, can you? You've got the cross-eyed compulsion. Juror number 3, what a surprise. Come on, Runo. Let's put the pictures in place and see what this wonderful contraption shows us. There we go. Now look through the eyepiece. Okay. Literally is just a glowing box there. Wasn't sure at first, but there's a clear discrepancy between these two prints. What? You must identify the location in question for the court, counsel. Indicate the precise location of the discrepancy. So, this game, which I thought was a new computer game when I downloaded it, is actually 2 older games. Great Ace Attorney Adventure, and I forget the name of the other one. These were handheld games. I think they were for maybe the 3DS, which would mean that rather than it doing this for you, you probably had to use your cross-eyed vision to pick this up. And I imagine you would have to point this out on a normal picture rather than just have it highlighted for you like it is right here. Oh, come on, get in the center. I'm doing this with the keyboard. There we go. Present.
Take that!
Granted, these 2 prints are almost identical. However, there is one minor discrepancy between them. What? When you view the 2 pictures stereoscopically, so that had been moved, right? Which means something was taken out of the box. A single area stands out as being different, the location of this small box. Let me wait. Unbelievable. Also, like, how much do you guys love seeing that image of Lord Van Sykes looking through this stereoscope? By Jove, you're right, cross-eyed judge. How extraordinary. What this tells us is very simple. Mr. McGuilded's small box was indeed not stolen from Windybanks on the night in question. However, there can be no doubt that somebody picked up this particular box and then returned it to its place on the shelves. Are you suggesting that the small box originally deposited by Mr. McGuilded is in fact, yes, the very same small box I just identified in those photographic prints?
Objection!
There's no way to know that, right? Mindless guesswork. What if it was? So a box was moved on the shelf. Nothing was stolen. Which means, quite simply, that nothing has changed. That may be true, but all right, McGuilded's box wasn't stolen then. But doesn't the fact that it was moved like that change things? Yeah, it changes everything. I hope that's the right answer. I believe this changes everything about the case. How can that possibly be? The crucial point is the fact that what was moved was a small box. In other words, we have to consider what might have been inside that box. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that we need to examine that box as soon as possible. A vital piece of evidence is sitting on the shelves at Windybanks as we speak.
Objection!
That won't be necessary. Some little box belonging to a man who died 2 months ago can't possibly be relevant to this trial. The court does not uphold your objection, Lord Van Sykes. Bailiff, arrange for an officer to go to Baker Street at once. Obtain the small box in question and bring it back here for further examination. This court case is long. I don't even know how many episodes we've been doing this now. Van Sykes is my favorite character in this whole thing, though. Van Sykes, and then that little skulking brother, the little bulldog-looking one. I really like him. We should have a report within half an hour. I think perhaps we should recess for a short while until the evidence is brought forth. Again? To be hoodwinked by such a farce. Humph, disappointing. I beg your pardon, Lord Van Zykes? This is nothing but a smokescreen, a Nipponese specialty, it would seem. What are you trying to say? My learned friend has persisted with the same line of reasoning from the very beginning, that this witness's intent was to steal an article belonging to Mr. McGuilded from the pawnbrokery. Yet common sense tells us that none of the articles have value enough to be worth stealing in the first place. Exactly. It would be beyond absurd to break into a place for the purpose of stealing such commonplace property. If your lordship recalls, Mr. McGuilded perished 2 months ago immediately after conclusion of his trial. A trial in which he was found not guilty. A trial in which it was established he was the upstanding member of society his reputation implied, in fact. So I propose a toast to my learned friend and his most insightful defense. The articles this upstanding member of society pawned were entirely ordinary. A black overcoat that just happened to have a music box disc in one of its pockets and a small box. I assure you, I wouldn't accept even if the man tried to make a gift of such things to me. You know, that does make rather a lot of sense. It's not as if it was gold or jewels, is it? Though goodness knows Mr. McGuilded was rich enough. But you can't deposit cash at a pawnbrokery. The prosecution's argument is undeniably compelling. It is incumbent on the defense now to bolster its argument. To explain what possible significance these commonplace articles pawned by this fine citizen could have. Well, counsel, is your argument in fact demonstrable? Are you able to show proof that the disc in the box are any tangible related to this case? Well, what's the matter, Runo? We know that they're related, don't we? They're both vital pieces of evidence. Yes, of course, you and I both know that. We know McGuilded's true character, and we know the disc is significant, even if we don't know why. Looks like we gotta come clean about the last trial, right? But if we explain all that to the court at this point, we'll have to acknowledge that McGuilded's acquittal 2 months ago was a mistake. That the defense's argument was flawed, based on false information. Oh no. And that would mean admitting that Gina committed perjury. But Jenny, could it be that Van Zykes knows? Is that why he's doing this now? Because he's anticipated everything? Yeah, I think it is, actually. But maybe this could be a great opportunity for us to right a wrong. Yes. What do you mean, Iris? Well, what is it that you always say, Runo? Sooner or later, the truth comes out every time. And if you're right, you'll never fear the wrong. All right, the exact significance of the things that McGuilded deposited with Mr. Windibank is something that only Gina can explain. Oh, we having her testify then. But if I put her on the stand to testify about that, it could critically damage our chances of winning this case. But it's about the truth, right? What's the right thing to do here? Well, the right thing is to hear the truth. I think. My lord, the defense would like to make a proposal. Oh, what proposal, counsel? While the court awaits the arrival of Mr. McGuilded's small box, I would like to call the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade, to the witness stand. The defendant? To what end? It's to do with the various articles deposited at Windibank's by Mr. McGuilded, my lord. Miss Lestrade has information relating to them. I believe it would be beneficial for the court to hear what she has to say. I will prove the significance of the articles in question once and for all. Well, well, things are becoming interesting. I presume you've considered the implications of the testimony you're proposing. In particular, the impact it will have on the accused standing and indeed your own. I have. Lord Van Zykes, would you care to explain that last remark? The prosecution accepts the defense's proposal. I move to interrupt the cross-examination of the current witness and hear from the accused herself. Very well, if you have no objection. So, the court will now hear the testimony of the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade. You witnesses currently in the stand may step down until further notice. You don't even have a hat, dude. Then I shall bid you good day. Wait. You, sir, shall remain in the stand while Miss Lestrade testifies. Yeah, Van Zykes knows what's going on this whole time, doesn't he? As you wish. All right then, Gina. It's time. I know this will be hard, but please, put your faith in me here. Good luck, Rudo. We're going to make her look bad, aren't we? The articles that Mr. McGuilded had deposited in Windibank's pawnbrokery are intimately related with the omnibus case, the trial of which was heard in this courtroom 2 months ago. Yes, and I remember this young lady being brought before me in that trial as well. That's right, my lord. Her testimony helped to establish the innocence of the defendant, Mr. McGuilded. The omnibus case was intriguing, to say the least. And now here we are, all again, the same players in that trial facing each other once more. A twist of fate, perhaps, my Nipponese friend. Allow me to recap the events of 2 months ago. An old brickmaker was stabbed to death in an omnibus running along London's winter streets. Apart from the victim, there was only one other person in the carriage, Mr. McGuilded. Naturally, he was the prime suspect for the murder. But as the trial progressed, another possibility emerged. The murder, in fact, took place above the defendant's head on the roof deck, with the body then being dropped through the skylight in the carriage below. It was Miss Lestrade whose testimony brought that possibility to light. At the time of the incident, Miss Lestrade was concealed under a seat in the carriage, hoping to pick the pockets of unsuspecting passengers. Then, immediately after the trial, having been acquitted of the murder, Mr. McGuilded died in this very courtroom in the most extraordinary of circumstances. A mystery that remains unsolved even now, 2 months on. Yes, because you had something to do with it, didn't you, Van Zykes? As indeed does the omnibus murder itself. Be that as it may, I recall neither the disc nor the small box being mentioned in the course of those proceedings. Miss Lestrade. Would you tell the court now, please? What really happened in the omnibus 2 months ago? I mean, I don't know what you mean. I already said all of what I know. And what about everything you told us yesterday from inside your prison cell? Please, Miss Lestrade, this is extremely important. But, remember, little girl, if it transpires that you willfully withheld information in the trial 2 months ago, the Home Office will seek to prosecute you for perjury. And naturally, you will lose all credibility as a witness. Although, let's face facts, you have little credibility to lose. Woof! Jenny, don't listen to him. Please, you have to trust Runo now. Iris? We're on your side. Alright then. I'll talk. It's the right choice, Gina. Well, it would seem that my learned friend is hell-bent on bringing the entire courtroom down about his ears. So be it. I must confess that I'm struggling to understand what on earth is happening here. However, it would appear that Mr. McGuilded's pawned articles and that extraordinary case of the omnibus harbor secrets of which we have been hitherto unaware. So, Miss Lestrade, you will now give your testimony before the court about the events of 2 months ago. You will reveal the truth, a commodity sorely lacking in your original statements. This is it, then. Everything's going to come out. Like Van Zyke said, this could bring the whole courtroom down about my ears, but as a lawyer, I'm prepared to take that risk. Witness testimony. The real truth of the omnibus case. Truth is that Brickmaker Co. was in the cabin of the omnibus the whole time. When the Irishman dragged me out from under the seat, I saw that disc on the floor. All of a sudden, I heard a scream from over me head, and that pair on the roof deck went off to call the slops. That's when McGuilded slipped the driver some tin to do a run to the pawn shop roundabout. He threatened me not to snitch, not to say nothing to no one about what I'd seen or heard. Yeah, okay, that was short and sweet. Good grief. This is outrageous. What you just told the court bears almost no resemblance to your testimony 2 months ago. As you say, my lord. Then there's every chance I may have adjudicated an error in the McGuilded's trial. Sounds very much to me as if the man deliberately deceived this court in an effort to cover up the most wicked of schemes. Without doubt, your lordship is correct. A great injustice was done in this courtroom 2 months ago. The actions of the accused in that trial, of this witness, and of my learned friend are entirely inexcusable. I don't believe it. The whole trial was a farce? It was all lies? That McGuilded fellow was rotten to the core, just like that pickpocket? Don't forget that lawyer from the East. They were in it together. You're wrong, the lot of you. Mr. Naruoto, the lawyer there, didn't know nothing about it. Humbug. I don't think so. Are we really expected to believe that? He really stitched everyone up, didn't he? What an operation to get this man off scot-free. Unforgivable. Stop. The lies have to stop. Stop. Stop, stop. Yes, the defense made a terrible error of judgment. I intend to take full responsibility and suffer whatever consequences are deemed appropriate. However, it is imperative that the court allows the witness to elaborate on her testimony, because the true significance of McGuilded's pawned articles must be brought to light. Very well, my learned student friend. Given the depths of calamity you have just plunged yourself into, this may well be worth hearing. Depths of calamity. Words fail me, this situation is utterly deplorable. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, my lord. I will decide upon your fate following the conclusion of this trial. Of course, my lord. Blimey, Mr. Naruhodo. Now, counsel, proceed with the cross-examination. At this point, shouldn't it be a mistrial? Cross-examination. The real truth of the omnibus case. Truth is that Brickmaker Co. was in the cabin of the omnibus the whole time. Hold it! Gonna press everything. And you were hiding in the cabin at that time as well, weren't you, Miss Lestrade? If I remember rightly, in the storage compartment underneath one of the seats. Yeah, that's right. It's pitch black under there, so you can't see nothing at all. Now, in your testimony 2 months ago, I feel certain that you claimed Mr. McGuilded was the sole passenger, did you not? False testimony, my lord. That's what he told me I had to say. But it's important that you tell us the truth now. Were Mr. McGuilded and the victim acquaintances? I don't know, but I did hear him talking a lot. What were they talking about? Well, I couldn't hear too well, but if I had to say, I think it was about money or something. They kept talking about buying and not buying. Perhaps business dealings of some kind. Well, anyway, they got louder and louder. It started to sound like a proper fight. I was pretty scared by then. I hardly dared to breathe, and then all of a sudden, I heard a noise like somebody kneeling over on the floor. It was bloomin' loud and all. And I believe you let out an involuntary scream? Yeah, that's what gave me away. When the Irishman dragged me out from under the seat, I saw that disc on the floor.
Hold it!
What was the disc you saw this disc? How would she know? Yeah, I reckon it probably was. It was right next to the cove line on the floor. Could this disc have belonged to the victim, perhaps? I don't know, but McGuilded picked it up pretty smartish. And then he set the cove with the knife in his belly up on the seat. What did he say to you at that time? He told me not to say a word about what I'd seen or heard to no one. About the disc and all. I was dead scared. The way he was looking at me, I thought, if I didn't go along with it, I'd get stuck with that knife too. Then he started asking me a load of questions. Like what my name was and where I lived and that. He asked me about being a diver too. But after a while, what happened in the carriage was noticed. Yeah, that's right. First there was kind of a rapping noise. All of a sudden I heard a scream from over me head and that pair on the roof deck went off to call the slops.
Hold it!
There were two gentlemen occupying the seats on the roof deck, I believe. That's right. They must have looked down through the skylight and noticed the cove with a knife in his guts. When they screamed, the driver pulled up the horses and McGuilded got out of sight. Out of sight? Where? Back under the seat where I started off. Once the carriage came to a halt, the two coves from the roof ran off to fetch the slops. If they immediately left to fetch the police, it would appear they were entirely unrelated to the incident. So that left McGuilded, the driver, and you still at the scene. Yeah, only the driver didn't know I was there because I was under the seat. I heard the cabin door open and a voice from outside. The driver, yes. He also testified in the trial, I believe. A fellow who went by the name of Beppo, if memory serves. Good job, Judge, because I didn't even remember his name. What did McGuilded and the driver say to each other? I don't know what happened and stuff like that, mainly. That's when McGuilded slipped the driver some tin to do a run to the pawn shop roundabout.
Hold it!
That pawn shop obviously being Windy Banks on Baker Street. Just a moment, counsel. Do you mean to tell me that the driver gave false testimony in that trial as well? Perhaps the excursion to the pawnbrokery slipped his mind when he was in the stand. Indeed, Lord Van Zykes. McGuilded took off his coat and gave it to the driver. He folded it up, all careful-like, before handing it over. When I saw him do that, I remember thinking, that coat and what's in it's got to be worth a few bob. Yeah, Gina was sure the disc must be worth more than Mr. Windybank was suggesting, wasn't she? I remember her quibbling with him over the price that afternoon at the pawnbrokery. The driver looked pretty happy when McGuilded flashed some brass in his face. He went running off at a lick. Then the bog-trotter called to me and told me to come out from the Dreg's cabin. He threatened me not to snitch, not to say nothing to no one about what I'd seen or heard.
Hold it!
Threatened you how exactly? Told me I'd only be able to scarp her if I did exactly what he said, which included giving false testimony in court 2 months ago. Yeah, that's it. And there was another thing he said, which was, he told me I'd have to hang on to the ticket from the pawn shop and make sure not to lose it. The ticket? Well, I never. Said that if he didn't show up to get the ticket off me before 2 months passed, I had to go to the pawn shop and pay the money to keep it in lug, to stop it being forfeited. He left me with some brass to pay for it. But really, why on earth would Mr. McGuilded have done such a thing? Depositing his overcoat with a pawnbroker before the arrival of the police. It makes no sense at all. There would seem to be only one logical explanation, my lord. What McGuilded had the driver deposit at Windibanks was something he didn't want the police to see. Something very important that he needed to hide at all costs. Anyway, after that, he let me go, so I legged it before the coppers showed up. Well done, Gina. It can't have been easy to tell the truth like that. Jenny's really put her faith in you, Runo. Yes, and to think her, she'll have to face a charge of perjury once this trial's over. So I need to use the time we have now to get as much information out of her as possible. It's time to really go for it. Press her on every statement. I already did. I suppose I should. Oh, and another thing. What's that? Take a look at those two. Isn't it strange they've been whispering to each other the entire time? Yes, it is, and we'll have to discover what that is next episode. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy my content, please consider a like, a comment, and or subscribe. Stay tuned for the next episode. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.